So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time sort of going over the Itinerant Teacher Academy and what this entails. So first, a little intro. So who I am, what is a SEIT, a special education itinerant teacher? Some of you may have a much better sense than others, and that's okay. Wherever you're coming from, we're happy to have you. How is it being used? And then the SEIT Academy, the actual nuts and bolts, probably the reason that you are here or you are watching this video. So a little bit of background in me, very briefly. Again, my name is Dr. Kate Aceta. You can call me Kate. I'm an assistant professor in early childhood special education at the University of South Carolina, hence the Garnet up here. And prior to beginning my doctoral program, I was an early childhood special educator in New York in a therapeutic nursery working with 3 to 5-year-olds for about 8 years. So 3 to 5-year-olds who'd experienced significant early life trauma. And so I worked with those 12 kids a year, 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, 12 months a year. We never took more than 2 weeks off. It was myself, at least 3 assistants, but often the young children in our class required additional one-on-ones. And so we were often 12 students, myself as the lead, and then 6 adults to provide these students with the kinds of educational supports that they needed. I then also worked at a Head Start and was a principal or I guess sort of regional manager of a location. One of the sites that I was working in had about 300 kids and 35 plus staff. So some lovely experiences in the classroom. And now that I'm out of the little classroom, as I think of it, and into the big classroom, I currently coordinate the early childhood special education program here at the University of South Carolina. If you're interested in that as well, don't hesitate to send me an email, especially through SC Create. My research interests are in looking at and designing professional development and effective instruction practices in early childhood. But anyway, let's be honest, enough from me and who I am. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we really want to get to. So what is a SEIT? So it's a special education itinerant teacher. And if you happen to watch the information video that we had posted from my presentation at SCCEC, that's where some of this content is coming from. So I'm going to go over this part more briefly because we're also going to talk about itinerant teaching in the academy itself. But it's an itinerant teacher, meaning that it travels. So it's a licensed special educator that's going to provide services to young children, typically ages 3 to 5. So not necessarily early intervention, but once they've entered sort of the realm of the school district, if you will, you would be providing those services. And I actually was an itinerant teacher back in New York for a year. I was a classroom teacher, and then I provide itinerant services in addition. And I worked with providing special education services for a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old, actually all 3 of them, in a variety of settings. One was in a public daycare, another one was in a private faith-based school, a yeshiva, a Jewish school, and then other types of settings. And one was in a Catholic school as well. So all over the place. So I've done this work myself and have a good sense of sort of what it looks like. One of the main differences is it offers indirect and consultation services. So unlike in early intervention, where you're often providing the direct services to the young child, this is more of a triangulated form. So, and I actually have that down here. So let's take a look at that right here. So see it, if we're looking at the delivery style, what might it look like? We tend to see itinerant services. Where are they provided? Either in the community or in the home setting. Sometimes itinerant services for 3 to 5-year-olds can also be provided. Here's the beauty of this, and this is sort of, I think, the exciting thing about itinerant models and districts adopting an itinerant model, is it does what early childhood special education is really good at, or what it should be really good at, which is providing services in natural-based settings. So naturalistic environments such as the home, community-based. If you have a family, let's say you're a child, I'm gonna just say Barry, although there's not many 3-year-old Barrys probably running around right now in South Carolina. But let's say that's a 3-year-old little boy named Barry. He has 2 other siblings and they all attend Fuzzy Bear's Presbyterian church daycare. The mom and the dad might feel really strongly about wanting him to be able to attend there when he becomes when he's turned 3 years old. However, he's receiving special education services. So typically districts might look at an evaluation and end up wanting to feel like part of the placement would be in a 3DD. Itinerant services give you the ability to empower families, to give them choice, and to be able to find and see a broader range of where students can be serviced and how we can support them. And so when we think about in the community setting, which is probably what many districts end up going with, there's the classroom teacher and then the special education teacher. The classroom teachers are really the people who are providing the direct supports. And the special education teacher or the itinerant teacher, they're providing more coaching and consultation. And for the home base, the partnership is between the parents or the family members, could be grandma and grandpa, whoever the sort of the primary caregivers are, and the special education teacher, who's going to support the parents or the families and caregivers in being able to deliver the interventions. And you might be saying to yourself, I'm not really sure what that would look like. You don't need to know what that looks like. And if you don't know, that's okay. That's what the Academy is for, is to be able to support you in thinking like, I think we might want to try this, but I don't know where to begin. Or maybe we've begun itinerant services, but there's some glitches and we'd like to be able to refine our process. So whether you're a district that has been doing itinerant services for 5 years or no years, wherever you start or wherever you're starting from is something that we can begin with in the Academy. So again, these are community-based placements and partnerships. So this, a big part of this, and I'll talk more about this a little bit later, is in the third workshop is going to be around partnerships. So it'll be discussing and engaging with partners, so community-based partners, around how to support young children. Because we have the child here, and we're going to have this sort of dynamic or engagement between the itinerant or special education teacher and the community-based partner. So that might be the daycare provider, it could be the childcare worker, it could be the Head Start teacher, wherever they happen to be, or the caregiver who's at home, maybe they're at a home-based service. And so we end up doing more indirect or consultation, and then they're going to be doing more of the direct supports and implementation of the IEP or the community base and working directly with the child. So why the SEIT Academy? This is where I sort of do my pitch of why you should think and consider applying to the SEIT Academy. Well, SEIC and Skippy have done a phenomenal job in the state of South Carolina of sort of laying the groundwork and promoting inclusion in early childhood settings. We also know that based on South Carolina's needs assessment, that we're going to need to provide different types of supports, and that across the state, we could do, and truthfully, across the nation, we could do a better job of looking at the least restrictive environment and placement, particularly in early childhood. We have a lot of folks who are working hard to provide a wider continuum of service placement options. However, those of you who are early childhood special educators like myself, I didn't get any training in doing itinerant services. When I got hired by the agency that I worked for, they said, are you a licensed early childhood special educator? I said, yes. They said, check, you can be an itinerant. That was it. There was no training in what these services were supposed to be like. And it can be really confusing and taxing when the roles are unclear, when it feels like you need to provide direct services, especially when you are putting together the IEP and you're saying, oh, this kid's only going to get 5 to 10 hours of service from the special educator, as opposed to, 20, 30, 40 if they're in a 3DD or 4DD classroom. You might be saying that's not enough direct service. The difference is they are getting direct supports and service by the general education teacher in the classroom. Because the truth is they have way more time and opportunity to be able to provide and deliver those interventions in a more naturalistic setting with inclusive peers and typically developing peer models. So we're having these sort of larger discussions with Skippy, with SEIC, the needs assessment comes out, and that's where Dr. Heather Gouge and I, if you don't know her, she's a fabulous person and one of my favorite people to collaborate with. And I'm not just saying that because her little face and her little box is sitting down below and I can sort of see her there, even though she has her camera off. But Dr. Heather Gouge and I are have worked together when we were putting together this grant. We wanted to be able to create and support a system. So not a one-time shot, like where you got to pull of money and then you do a quick intervention and then all the money goes away and then there's no real change. There's no real systems change. And so we designed and sort of proposed, and it was accepted, this idea of developing and implementing we have the word course here, but the truth is, you'll see in a minute, it's actually workshops to prepare early childhood special educators and district administrators to implement an itinerant model as part of your continuum of services for young children with disabilities in your district. Currently, we're working with Skippy and the Part B C coordinator to we're actually doing our recruitment plan right now. When I designed and put these slides together about a week ago, we had not quite put out our application, which Nicole and I will talk a little bit about where to apply and how to apply if you're interested in just a few slides. So that's where we're sort of at right now. I would normally pause here because I've been talking fairly quickly. I think I'm well caffeinated right now, but I think what I want to do is get to the nuts and bolts, and I'll pause on each of those slides. And if people have questions, please feel free to unmute, or you can if you feel more comfortable, you can write in the chat box as well. And Nicole will be managing that and sort of keeping an eye on that in case I'm busy jibber jabbering about. You can sort of she'll keep an eye on that and make sure I can pause for a second and make sure that you all get your questions answered, because that's what this is here for, is that you all feel like you have a sense of what's expected if you were to apply and get accepted, and we want as many of you to do that as possible. So the who. So in the academy, who's expected to participate, right? So what is this going to look like? Well, for each team, we need at least 2 people. So many of you, I'm sure, have been to presentations or trainings where one of you gets sent from the district and you feel so jazzed about that content and you are so ready to go back and make that change in your district, but then no one else has been through that training or that presentation. So it makes it very difficult to make systems level, district level change if a team isn't part of the initial training process. So that's the main reason that we want to make sure that there's multiple team members. Also, you all work as a team. Early childhood special education services are not provided in isolation. You don't make determination and placement decisions in isolation. So we want to make sure that these are well represented. So at minimum, we're looking for 1 district administrator and 1 early childhood special educator. We would also highly encourage you, if you have an SLP that's regularly a part of evaluation services and placement meetings, that's a great person to include. A school psychologist who works with the early childhood special education population, a behavior specialist, or an OT or a PT, or both. Whoever sort of tends to be on that team, those are great people to bring and be a part of that. You really want to sort of consider who attends your ECSE evaluations and placement meetings. I'll pause there. Any questions on the who you should consider when we're putting these together? I teach undergrad, so I'm very comfortable with wait time.
I have a question, Kate.
Sure, please, Dr. Gouge.
Could a district bring more than 1 early childhood special ed teacher?
Yes, please. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you are thinking maybe you'll start itinerant services with 1 person, but perhaps you're going to want to bring someone else. Or maybe you have, you've just hired an early childhood special educator and you have a more seasoned veteran early childhood special educator that you also like to bring. Or maybe you got 2 folks that are just too fabulous and you can't pick. Please, the more the merrier. We want to sort of cap it at 5 per team, but if you were to email us and you were able to say, it really would for our district, this is what makes sense, I'm confident that we could figure out a way to get a 6th or 7th in there for you. So the beauty of virtual, right? Great question. All right, I'm going to move on to the what. Here's what you're all wondering, right? What does this even look like? Well, These are 3 4-week workshops. And I want to make that really, really, really clear that they are workshops. This is not a course. Is it being run through USC? Yes. Will you be using Blackboard? Yes. Now you're like, I don't want to do it because I don't even know how to use Blackboard. We will help you through all of that. That's just a way to hold the content and share the content. There are not weekly assignments. I'm not grading you. You're not getting tested. It's not a course. It's a workshop. So it's an opportunity, and I'll sort of run through this a little bit of what it would look like, the format. So it's asynchronous content. So brief, and I mean brief, 5, maybe 7 minutes max. I think I put out all the, I've put together all the content right now. So the recorded PowerPoints will be about 5 to 7 minutes each, maybe a little bit less. And there's approximately 3 per week. So you're looking at 15 to 21 minutes, give or take. And they will be up there all week for you to be able to watch at your leisure while you're eating your salad over your computer or whatever you happen to be snacking on for lunch. Those will be available for you. So that'll be sort of self-paced within the week. Then there's going to be readings. I think, I do actually have one of the books right here sitting on my, this is the second edition, we'll be using the third. If your team is selected, we will be sending you some books, some materials for you to keep, not just for the academy, but for you to own for each of your team members. So you'll have an opportunity to read through these. I have read through all of them and hand selected them. They are user-friendly, easy, gentle to read with really good applied hands-on content. These are not going to be workshops where we're going to be talking a ton about theory. We're going to be talking about the nuts and bolts, literally, of what do you do and how do you plan an itinerant model. And so that first course is going to be about an introduction to SEIT, to itinerants. And for some of you, that might be a review because you might already be doing itinerant services. And that's just the first week or so. Then we're going to really get into the instruction in the community classroom. So what does it look like to think about inclusive instruction? We'll be relying heavily on the building blocks book in that context. Then, so there'll be 4 weeks of that. In the second workshop, we'll be looking at social emotional development in the pyramid model. You and your entire team will have the opportunity and access to go through the entire pyramid model online modules, including the additional models of trauma-informed care, as well as culturally responsive instruction. So some additionals, and it's all laid out for you. They're e-modules. So again, they're self-paced within the week. So you watch them at night, watch them during the day, you watch them when you can watch them. And here's the thing, lean in close. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I want you to do them the week that they're due, but sometimes things happen and you may not get to watch all of them, and that's okay. You have access to them. The point is, I've got it sort of paced out for you, so it's pretty accessible per week, with the idea that you're not taking a course. And so we'll go through that, and I'll be sort of facilitating that discussion. And then the third, and maybe like sort of the meatiest, I almost put this one first, but I think once we have this other content, you all are really going to be ready to talk about that partnership, the coaching and consultation. And we'll talk a little bit about how to coach and the difference between coaching and consultation, but a lot of this will be about what would this look like in your district? What are your district needs? Who are some of your known community partners? Is there an early or a Head Start program that you all regularly, your children may be attending? Are there community-based programs? And all those good things. I see a question.
Yes.
In the chat box. Beautiful.
Yes. So
go ahead, Nicole.
Question, would this be a good fit if a district is already in the process of providing community services?
Yes, it is. And I would encourage you to apply, because one of the strengths I think of this academy and the plan for this academy is really to tailor some of the content to individual districts. You're going to be given snapshots, as I said here, the sort of asynchronous content. Then we're going to meet weekly for 1 hour as a whole group, and we're going to discuss some of that content. And then you're going to spend a good portion of this breaking out into your teams. So you're really going to say to yourself, we're committed to providing services in the community. And we want to think about what would, if we're already doing it, what's our 2.0 version going to look like? What supports do we need? What content do we need? What resources do we need? And the truth is, if you're feeling really good, like it's going great, and you wouldn't necessarily benefit from this content, who am I kidding? You should apply anyway, because we'd love to have you. And I think that it would be a great opportunity, whether you're currently providing services or you're not. This is really going to be able to give you additional content that you can walk away with and just strengthen the program or the models that you already have. That's really going to better meet that. Great. Yeah, I think almost all of us are looking to refine our practices, right? We're here and we know that we could always do better. That's probably why we're educators, because we're always thinking about ways to improve and look at that self-reflection and say, what other things can we be doing? You'll have additional access to so much content that will be, as I call it, sort of bonus content that you can download and save and use as the time goes on. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't have time when I was a classroom teacher, or even when I was an itinerant teacher, to be able to always stay up to date on best practices. I often found it overwhelming when I was a practitioner. And so I think that I sort of view this as an opportunity that I can pull together all that information and be able to share that with you in a package, and then to be able to support you and facilitate within your district, what is it going to look like for your community? So if you're hoping to get here's a model and like a little cute little box with a nice little garnet bow on it, I'm sorry to disappoint, but that's not what you're going to get. What you will get, I hope, is you'll feel empowered to be able to make decisions based on your community need, what your resources are, and all that good stuff. Absolutely.
So we have
Yes, it would be. Oh,
go ahead,
Nicole.
We're eager to answer you all's questions. So Kate can see it, but I'm gonna read it aloud because we do have a participant that's on the phone audio. Will the 1 hour class be the same time each week? When will that schedule be set?
Yes. So one of the things that's a great question. Yes, it'll be the same time every week. And what we'll do is the plan will, once we've gotten the applications, we will then email out the programs and we will find a time together. I know everyone loves a doodle poll. I'm being sarcastic, but we will highlight specific target times so we can make sure that it works best. And here's the thing. I want you to come to all 4 weeks, right? Every person. But sometimes you're going to have to miss one because you're going to have a color guard for your daughter. Her color guard competition is going to be there, and you can't miss that. I don't want you to miss those opportunities. Also, they're taking place, as you'll see here, in May, June, and July. So some of you will maybe not be available because now you're vaccinated and ready to travel. So you're thinking about booking a trip for mid-June and you might be gone for a week. We know that. And I'm not expecting everyone to be there. I think the expectation is you're there 3 out of 4 sessions for each of the 4 workshops. But Lucy, to be more specific, hopefully I've answered your point, is the schedule will be set once we've reviewed applications and let districts know who will be in the first cohort. And that's an important thing. We are slated to have 3 cohorts, but depending on interest, we may try and facilitate a 4th cohort that we would start in the fall, ideally. Heather, I don't know if we were supposed to say that, but I said it anyway. We would see if budget allows, we would try and maybe squeeze in another cohort in the fall if there's enough interest. We want to make sure that everybody who's interested, whether you are in the first round or the second or the third round, our aim is to get everybody in there. And that goes back to down here at the bottom, you'll see not only do you receive books and materials, but also ongoing contact and support as you implement your itinerant model or make changes to your itinerant model. And so that's in partnership with us at PDG, myself, Nicole, Dr. Heather Gouge, as well as Skippy, South Carolina Partners for Inclusion. So we want to make sure that you have what you need. So it's not just these workshops. We're an ongoing resource for you as you continue to move forward implement, reflect. You might need you might have different questions arise for you about how to navigate or facilitate those things. And we'd like to be able to be those continued supports for you as you move forward.
Kate, and I think too that this cohort model with district teams going through together, several districts going through together, that opens up more resources for the people that are participating, because they can reach out to other districts who went through this experience together and learn about how they're implementing and learn about what's working and what's not working. So we hope that you will be able to keep communication open even after the academy is over with the other districts that you're participating with.
Yeah, absolutely. To create like a larger community of practice, an itinerant community of practice, to be able to say, where are you getting these supports? How are you doing that? How are you implementing that? And really sort of learning from one another as you all become more and more confident in your ability to provide itinerant services for the young children in your community. Did I miss anything there? Do that weekly. Boop. Okay. Workshop dates, May 3rd to May 28th, June 1st to June 30th, July 1st to the 30th, pretty straightforward. They're 4 weeks. We'll have 4 meetings per workshop. So 4 hours of time together. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to stop there. I think, oh yeah, we'll get to that next. Questions on the workshops, on format, on dates, things related to that might help you as you're going back, or if you're watching this, email me with questions or email Nicole with questions, please. I didn't freeze, in case you were worried.
Here's a question, what if I'm interested, but I'm having challenges getting my team together? Is there any suggestions that could be provided?
That's a great question. And that might happen where you're sitting in this, or you're in this webinar right now, this info session, and you're leaving it and you're feeling excited and you're ready to bring it back to the district, but your team is maybe not quite on board yet. Here's what I'll say. 1, you can email Nicole and I, and we'd be happy to speak directly to your team members and give a little more information in detail if that would help them think about that. Because I understand this is a big commitment. I'm not going to pretend that it's not, in the sense of that it's 3 months of workshops, which sounds a little overwhelming when we consider that it is self-paced. Oh, and you get CEUs. Nicole, do you know the number of CEUs per course? The university calls them courses. They're actually workshops is their format.
It's going to be approximately, we're looking at least 5 CEUs. So it's going to be over 50 hours of content. So that's approximate. We're waiting to get the official word back though.
Yeah. And that's for each one or all 3?
That's total, all 3 workshops.
Thank you. So that is, email us and we're happy to set up a Zoom, a phone call with team members that are not quite there or maybe need to learn a little bit more. I would also remind you that maybe your district wants to wait and see, and they want to see, what does the academy look like during the first cohort? We will be running other cohorts, but if I were you, I wouldn't waste time. I'd jump right in, and we'd like to get you involved as quickly as possible and get you the kinds of, as Lucy was saying, the kinds of supports around problem solving and things related to that as well. So yeah, great. Good question there, Nicole. So those are the dates. That's sort of the nuts and bolts. So Nicole, you want to talk a little bit about the application process?
Absolutely. So Applications, and I'm going to drop the links to the application into the chat box very shortly, but it can also be found on the Skippy website, which is listed on the slide. It's a team application, meaning one person can complete the application, but it does ask for information about your team members. And as we shared earlier, we're looking for teams to have at least one early childhood special educator, one early childhood special education teacher and one district administrator. And then if you have additional team members that want to be a part of this, you have the opportunity to include their information as well. We are asking, thank you, Heather. We are asking that applications be completed by April the 19th. If for some reason you're down to the 19th and you're still trying to get information and you need the 20th, email me directly and we can talk through that if you're really, really interested. But as Kate shared, we are encouraging you to put in your application sooner rather than later. And if you have any questions, please feel free, you guys, don't hesitate to reach out, or if you have any concerns, we're happy to address those as well. But it is a team application.
Yeah, great.
And the application is pretty bare bones. We do ask for your team members' names and email addresses, and that's in the event that you're selected as a district for the first cohort, that we can reach out to all the members to get them to fill out the registration information, which will be a little bit more information about each participant.
Mm-hmm. Great, excellent points. So I'll sort of leave it, I guess, on this page or on this one, leave it here. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
This has been really helpful and clarifying. Thank you guys for walking through all this with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. And if you have additional questions as you're like getting ready to discuss this, Tiffany, you're at Aiken, right?
I am, yes. And we are really in the process of building out our programming and continuum options. So I'm so excited to have this, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Yeah, excited. Good, good, good. Yeah, I can't encourage folks enough. Nicole and Heather have watched me get so jazzed about thinking about this SEIT Academy. And, a little backstory, Heather and I I think I've been discussing this with Jenny May in a variety of ways, and Heather for probably 3 years. And we're very, very excited to be able to offer this. We are thinking about sustainability. So the idea is that this will be able to continue well beyond the grant, hopefully. And so you all would be sort of our inaugural team and districts that would be signing on and giving us some great feedback on ways that we can improve and strengthen the academy. And then what kinds of supports people need afterwards. So what are those sort of resources and those sort of communities of practice as you're sort of moving forward, that I think Lucy commented on in the chat. So wonderful.
2 other questions, Kate. One question, how soon will those who apply know whether or not they've been accepted into the cohort? And then another question that came through, yes, was about emailing documents if they're on the call via phone, if any information or links could be provided to them via email because they don't access the chat box. Absolutely. I saw your message come through.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get that to you. How soon? So applications are due on the 19th. I love to be transparent and clear. Nicole and I are meeting on the 20th. So the next day to review applications. We will then make the decision on the 19th, on the 20th or the 21st. And then you should know by the 22nd or the 23rd, the very latest. And then we will, once you know, and if for some reason, just due to numbers of sort of what we can support, we will make sure that you don't walk away empty-handed. We'll connect you to some additional resources. If for some reason your application, we weren't able to take your district on this first round, and we will make sure that if we can get a fall one in and you all are still interested, we would make sure that we collect that information and we contact you when we're getting ready, if we can run a fall one. Otherwise, the next one would be May of 2022. But we encourage you all to apply, and that we are hoping to get that turnaround pretty quick so that you can all then get your registration links, get you all registered, get you access, and then kick it off in just like a couple weeks, which is so fun. We're going to get right in there.
And yes, so just a reminder for you all, so this recording will be shared with everyone on the SEIC webpage. So you'll have the ability to share this recording with any team members that weren't able to attend this afternoon. And I said SEIC, it's actually the Skippy webpage. I apologize.
All right. Well, I guess if there's no questions right now, you can feel free to jump off the call. I'm sure most of you have a laundry list of things to get done. But what sort of school admin? So if you are from a district where you have an early childhood, like a director of early childhood special education, that's a great person. If you have someone who's involved in maybe the director of special education or special education student services, that's another great person. If you have someone who oversees the early childhood, who would be sort of the administrative person that oversees early childhood special education and may also be a part of placements or evaluations? It's pretty flexible. I think the way to think about it is, who would be able to support and advocate for your team when you go back to the district to say, we've got these really great ideas, now we need some monies or we need to be able to move or change some roles and positions within the district. Having someone who's been a part of the process, who can be thinking through what that would look like for your specific district. And maybe has like a little bit of leverage in the ability to have those kinds of conversations and help make those kinds of decisions and advocate on the team's behalf. Yeah, great question, Lucy.
I do want to add, I don't know if Kate covered this, but for our admins, we are going to have a little bit of bonus content for admins about just kind of thinking through staffing patterns and things like that an administrator would need to concern themselves with. And this also is a great opportunity for administrators to form kind of that little cohort community of practice around, if you've got an administrator who's really, really jazzed to make some change but has no idea where to start, this is a good opportunity for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, if anything does come up, like Kate shared, you all have our contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And with that, we thank you for spending time with us this afternoon and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.